You are listening to the Holistic Travel Nurse podcast. In this episode, I am just going to share with you my struggles and possible struggles that most women have with hormones and weight loss. So, recently, I have put out some other episodes, and you can hear them, where I've shared my stories with fighting with the scale, and then better understanding my body so that I can get to those numbers I want it to be on the scale. And then I have my body working for me and not against me. And learned it's just not calories in and calories out with weight loss. You can hear that with other interviews I've also had where people have been very successful with their weight loss and with different diet changes and lifestyle changes. And if you hear my dogs in the background, I live in an RV. And I have two munchkins that when I begin to record either a video or audio, these dogs somehow just want to be involved. I don't even get it. So, hormones. Some of the hormones that your body, especially as a woman, men will have it too. But us women, we know it, ladies. We know it, ladies. From an early age when we start getting periods to where I'm at in the age of perimenopause, they fluctuate. So you have your estrogen, we're talking about your progesterone, but then we have to think of all these other hormones that balance those. And you have to think of also your thyroid and all those, and your hypothalamus that puts all these hormones out. I mean, there is a cascading events in your body that happened and a fluctuation to what these hormones will do. And then we're exposed to so many toxins that disrupt our beautiful balance of our hormones. And so could those be a factor with your weight loss? You just have to think about it. So I'm just going to talk about some of the toxins. And if you've not seen, it's been on the news lately. I've seen it on the news lately. There's some incredible documentaries that really displaying the endocrine disruptor toxins. And there's one on YouTube. I will absolutely have it in the show notes if you want to just explore that and you don't know anything about that. But from arsenic to transine, if I don't pronounce any of these words right, these herbicides and pesticides, they know for a fact that are going to mess with your endocrine system. Actually, some of them, they're linked more to breast cancer. And they're found, this is why you want to eat organic. So they're found in corn, sugarcane, macadamia nuts, beans, your lawns, even drinking water, of course. And then we've all known and talked about BPA because everyone's going BPA free. And so drinking out of less plastic bottles, one, we're going to help the environment. Two, we're going to decrease the risk of all the toxins from that. You have toxics in the byproducts through your environmental food. And they are carcinogenic and endocrine disruptors. There's a few didin or furin, the fire retardants, glycerin, estrins, lead, mercury. I mean, just to name a few of these things that are just causing massive issues with your hormones, including another huge one is phthalates. So phthalates are in plastics, there's in toys, they're in wraps, they're in your personal care products, they're in your fragrances, they are in your makeup, your laundry detergents. Hello. So there's some things you should be doing and being a smart shopper and not having so many of these disrupt your chemicals, because I know that people with PCOS, endometriosis, women, you're suffering hormonal imbalances where people are having a hard time getting pregnant or have fluctuating cycles and they're not the same. They have one cycle a month or if you're missing cycles, ladies, that's really to go in and see a specialist. My personal life, I have been suffering with the perimenopause, and when I went and saw a physician, this is a couple of years back when I started having the symptoms, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had period in days. And then looking at the symptoms that happen with perimenopause, I was just like, shit, I have all of them. Excuse my language, sorry. And I'm experiencing all. I'm like, my body just wants to really, slap it to me. And so I had to find regimens and things that would help my body and help balance it out and get it regular. And I didn't understand at this point in my life, this is a couple of years back, the amount of toxins that could be in play with this. And I remember going and seeing a physician, and it's so hard, ladies, to find a good OBGYN. And as I'm traveling around and having to see different physicians and I have to get my checkups or something, it's hard. And I actually, was of course asked for recommendations from fellow people who've been through good physicians. And so I went and saw this guy. He never laid a hand on me. We had my blood work done, and he's like, "Oh, yep, you're just in perimenopause, and this is what happens." And da 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 da. That's nothing else. It was just this less than 10 minutes and a waste of my time and horrible bedside manner. And I was just like, I went and saw this guy for what? And what did he give me? And what recommendations did he give me? So I had to kind of figure it out on my own. And I've read, multiple books. I had multiple books in front of me. So one particular oil, an essential oil I'm going to talk about, that is great for hormones. I'm going to open up one of my books. And this is the evidence-based essential oil therapy book. And we're going to talk about Clary Sage. And I'm going to give you guys a little recipe, if you have oils, if you don't have oils, on but this particular oil, Clary Sage, is a flower. It's a steam distilled flower in the leaves. A substitute for it if you don't have it, and if you've never experienced any of the oils, you need to reach out to me. And if you've never had good essential oils and you've just bought them at a grocery store from other people, you want to try and compare them to the ones that I've been using, absolutely. Again, reach out to me at holistictravelnurse@gmail.com. So oils that would substitute for Clary Sage in the sense of the chemical constituents is bergamot and geranium and petitgreen and basil, just to name a few. The primary chemical constituents, linolene acetate is really high in this, linalool, alpha terpenol, and I can't always pronounce these, but if you guys are curious, I can give you those. But if you read about this, Clary Sage contains phytoestrogen secrenol, which is either blocks or mimics the actions of estrogen. And when you think about estrogen, there's actually 3 different estrogens in our body, and estrogen does a lot in males' bodies and in female bodies. So Clary Sage has been helpful with using it combining with other oils when it helps with, from the beginning of our cycles to the end of our cycles, and helping with reducing discomfort. And so that is one way that it has been helpful. So rolling it on the belly or adding it with lavender or geranium or frankincense, those are all great things in a carrier oil, and rolling it on your belly. You'll find, especially for teen girls, that my girls would always really love to have this oil blend, the Clary Calm blend that doTERRA makes, in our house for that time of the month. It's a great oil for that. Clary Sage also is helpful for our feelings and our emotions and all those things. There is a little bit of help when it comes to balancing the inflammation, and Clary Sage has many other benefits to but it's not one I care for the smell of, and when helping with your hormones. So just one of them to get out and have during that time of the month, because we know that our weight is going to fluctuate with that. I will have to have an expert on. I'm looking for an expert to talk about some of the hormones, and especially when it comes to like your thyroid and your thyroid levels, and understanding your thyroid to weight loss. It's such a huge key. If you have an overactive thyroid, you can't gain weight. If you have an underactive thyroid, you have a hard time losing weight. So if people just think it's calories in and calories out for weight loss, No, it's so much more of hormones. Insulin will make you gain fat, and then decreasing the insulin will have you lose weight. There's just no science about it. So yesterday, I had this horrible day. I ate more carbs than I normally do, and I felt horrible. I felt swollen. I had a headache, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so today I have fasted as I want to get my insulin levels down. As far as perimenopause, it's another thing, and menopause, that affect with weight gain and the scale one way or the other. And I might do a lot more on that in a separate episode. Then this is just going to be a short one. Little snippet of Clary Sage, a little bit of could toxins be making you fat, a little bit of maybe a hint for you to do some research and really understand that there are so many endocrine disruptors that are fighting with our body in that balance that our body really wants to be in, that homeostasis, nice balance with hormones, and they fluctuate all the time. Another one we're going to talk about is cortisol. Cortisol is another hormone that, if it goes and raises, that's your stress hormone, you are going to have a hard time losing weight. If you get someone on prednisone, they're going to gain weight regardless of whatever they're eating. So hormones make a huge difference when it comes to us women and men with weight loss and conquering the scale. And it's one that's just not talked about, I don't think, quite enough. There are some other podcasts where I've listened to myself on the hormones, and they go back and forth and what people suggest. I'm going to just tell you, you might want to find an expert that you feel comfortable talking about with you and that will help you balance those things out. There are many things in your diet you need to be careful with. There are some great essential oils that are going to help in keeping that wonderful balance in your body. But there are also some incredible herbs and adaptogenics that have really helped me. So I'll share all those in a separate episode when we just talk menopause, and I'll have another person on to share it. But I just want to talk about this because you're going to hear so many other people talk about weight loss. My weight loss struggle is so bad, and a lot of it has to do with my hormones. So it's not your fault if you're fighting with the scale. Make sure you're getting those levels checked. And if you don't understand and you want some resources to some books to read and some guides to possibly understanding your hormones more, that's time to reach out to me at holistictravelnurse@gmail.com. I'll give you some ideas of books that I've read and some references to kind of understanding your hormones. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you guys are listening and sharing this. I look forward to chatting with you.